Good morning. It's time for coffee with Kristin and Tina. Good morning.
Morning.
Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday, December 6th. For me, this is known as St. Nick Day. Becky, is this a
Yes,
family tradition for you?
absolutely. My kids are in middle school and they've been talking about it for weeks.
So was there magic and excitement this morning?
Yes, I mean my two boys are opposite personalities. So one boy lack of expression and just you're always wondering what he's thinking. The other one was ecstatic and even said, "I love this time of year."
Aw,
Yeah.
doesn't that just make your mama heart so happy?
Mhm. Yes, yes.
I love that. So I have a almost 10-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 14-year-old, and the two what we call littles were up very, very early this morning, taking
Oh,
in the lights on the tree and, of course, feeling their stockings to see if there was anything in there.
yes.
The 14-year-old we had to drag out of bed this morning.
Mm,
It was a little bit
14.
slower.
Yep.
So
Yes.
so for you watching, you might be wondering, I thought this was coffee with Kristin and Tina. Where's Tina today?
Right.
Tina
We're
is not
missing Tina.
I know. Tina is not feeling well today, and she is taking some time to care for herself, and that just means you're stuck with me and my amazing guest. I'm almost pointed the wrong way. Becky Hoffman.
Yes. Good morning, everybody.
So Becky, you are on the show today because you are one of our, I'm going to call you a facilitator
Okay. That's a good
for the Women's Summit coming up. Um, Before we get into your role within the Women's Summit, tell everybody a little bit about what you do for your career, first of all.
Well, my primary role is an occupational therapist, and I work for the Michigan School District. I also do PRN in long-term care at the healthcare center. So variety of populations, both ends of the spectrum. I've got the little kids that I work with, and then also aging adults. So, which I love. Both I have experience with all populations. So that's my primary, what I do on a daily basis, and then also I teach yoga. So that's what brought me into this summit, the gathering here with us. That was probably 3 years ago, I believe. It was during COVID. These years just kind of passed by. But yeah, during COVID, I went through the training to become a yoga instructor. And really, the whole purpose of doing that was to help enhance my therapy sessions. I used yoga all the time. We do a lot of brain-based activities, and yoga is excellent for that. So I had just mentioned it to administration. This would be pretty cool. I could bring it into the school district, and then it just all fell into place. And then I didn't plan on leading classes on a weekly basis anywhere else, and that kind of just fell into my lap to working at the YMCA. And I just really enjoy my group I have a faithful group that comes every Wednesday evening. And I love it when it's winter and we're in the room and it's dark and we've got the candles, we've got just a little bit of light. I mean, it's just really a really relaxing, but yet energizing evening together.
Yeah. Well, I've known you for a number of years. We first met at the Y, and I know that you just bring such good energy into every space that you're in, whether it's a yoga space or otherwise.
Well, thank you. That's
Um,
very kind of you.
yeah. So, in your typical day at school, how do you use yoga, or how frequently does that get pulled in? Kind of what's a day for Becky in your job?
Okay, so we'll start. Today's Wednesday, so every day of the week is different. I see about 30 kids I have on my caseload, and so each Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I have a schedule and just go from kiddo to kiddo on my schedule. So yesterday there was 13. So individual treatment sessions for 13 different kids. And every session we focus the goals for the kiddos in their IEP is different. So it might be we're looking at fine motor, it might be core strength, it might be self-regulation, and all of that yoga can help with. So we not only do our tabletop activities, but then we always go to the mat in my therapy room and I have several different pictures, and typically I let the kids pick which yoga poses that they want to do. And we incorporate that into almost every session. And it's only typically 20 to 30 minutes. So it's fast paced. We're going quickly, but we always try to get a couple poses in. And sometimes that's the whole session. It depends on what the goals are for that particular student that I'm working with.
Sure. That's incredible.
But yeah, it's all day long. As soon as I start, I go to my first classroom and I grab my first student, we go to the therapy room, and then the day just progresses on.
Yeah. What changes have you seen in some of the kids since you really started introducing that yoga piece?
It's really regulation. I mean, really, it boils down to being more aware of your body. So a lot of kiddos struggle with regulation. It just all depends on how severe that is. How much is it affecting their occupations? And their occupations in a school setting is going to be being able to do their academics, being able to participate in their specials, meaning their art class, their gym class, being able to carry their tray, being in the lunchroom, being in a loud environment, and being able to play on the playground, being able to have unstructured play and structured play, being able to follow that busy routine, all of that, using the bathroom. Some of the, that's an occupation. Using anything that's school-based, we can work on in the school, and I can work on in the school environment with those kiddos.
Nice. Good morning. So we have Lori Crawford on.
Hey,
Good
Lori.
morning, Lori. Lori said, I love, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. And then I was just going to fold into using that yoga helps with that regulation when we're crossing midline, when we're getting that head in an inverted position. All of that helps bring that nervous system down into a regulated state.
Nice. Yeah. So Lori said, I love that the kids you work with are learning yoga early. It will serve them well throughout their life.
Yeah. Thank you, Lori. I know that you like to practice yoga frequently, Lori. That's so wonderful that you have a regular practice.
Yeah. So for those of us that maybe don't know the lingo, when you say regulate,
yes,
can you just tell us a little bit more about what that means for you?
Sure. So our nervous system, I mean, for ideal brain function, we want to be in what's called a regulated state. That's our parasympathetic nervous system is then activated. Then we've got the blood flow. We've got in our frontal lobe where all of our judgment, all of our problem solving, all of that is activated when we are calm, regulated, and we can think through things. When we're dysregulated, we're in our brain stem. So that means that the blood flow, the wiring, everything it's being activated in that lower brain stem. And our nervous system is wired that way for safety. When we are babies, when we are born for survival. When a child is in an environment that they can feel safe, they can sink into that parasympathetic nervous system, they can relax, that's when that brain develops, organizes the way that it needs to organize. We go through the baby goes through these developmental milestones because that wiring can happen the way that it's supposed to happen. If we're in a environment that maybe for various reasons, it could be medical trauma, it could be, toxic overload, it could be heavy metals, it could be stress, whatever. If that child has difficulty, it could be genetics, difficulty sinking into that relaxed state, that brain can't develop the way that it needs to. The wiring in the brain is disorganized, and getting into that regulated state isn't as easy. So the regulation is that, that calm, cool, I can think straight, I know what I need to do, and I can process through that. My brain is activated in the place that needs to be for me to be able to proceed forward. I'm not in my survival brainstem mode of I need to fight, freeze, flee because I'm not safe. And that's
Right.
dysregulation.
Yeah, and I know just in my experience in teaching and working with adults, kind of more on the education and leadership side, when we're in that state, we're a lot more innovative and creative. And, there's a lot of really amazing things happen when we can kind of sit in that space.
Yes, because that's where our thinking brain is then activated. And if we're not, if we're dysregulated, yeah, we might be faster. We might be, we might feel a little more alert. And that's some people thrive on that because their body feels stronger. But yes, but we're not able to think rationally. We're not able, if something negative comes in our path, we're going to react, we're going to explode because we're in that lower brain stem functioning versus that, oh, I can think through this, and that's a situation that I can handle, and I can talk myself through that situation. Right. And when we're not in that state, that's harder to do, and we're more reactive then to our situation.
Sure. And I think we can all probably sit back and think about experiences just as us as adults, definitely as a parent, where we feel that heightened sense. And, learning strategies to help calm down or be more thoughtful or be more caring or compassionate. Having those strategies in your toolbox can be really important, not just in your work or at home, but just in so many spaces.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, as parents, if we can't model that for our children, so we need to be able to obtain that so that then we can teach our kids and just create more harmony,
Absolutely.
versus, that activating that nervous system all the time with little tiny things that are happening, because life is going to happen. We can't avoid the uncertainty of life. We just have to sit with that uncertainty, and it'll pass like everything passes.
Right. Yep. So when you think about bringing all of this amazing knowledge and experience you have to the Women's Summit, tell us a little bit about how you design a yoga session to meet really so many different people's needs.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I love about the why, because my class is so dynamic. I mean, there's every level, there's every age, male, female. Sometimes I even have more males in my class than females. I mean, yeah, you just wouldn't expect that. And I really, really appreciate that and enjoy that about my class. And I just always start off letting them know, it's really important for me to provide a safe place. That's number one. And this is your mat. This is your mat. This is your practice. And yoga is about going within. We are going within to figure out, what does my body need? What do I need? Not what does anybody else need? What does anybody else's body need? What do I need to compare myself? What do I need to do to show off, to be noticed, to blah, 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 whatever. It is your time to be okay with whatever comes up on your mat, whatever you're doing. You do not, and I'll say, it does not have to look like what I can do. I can do some poses. There's a ton of poses I can't do. And by nature, my body is not flexible. I'm not young anymore, so there's a lot of stuff that I can't do, but I'm just up there to guide a person. And if that's what you want to practice, what I'm doing, that's awesome. If you want to lay on your mat and you want to breathe and just be, I mean, that's a perfect yoga practice. Just breathe and be okay with just being there and breathing, and not mind that nobody else is doing that. That's listening to what you need in that moment. And that's the space that I want to provide for everybody, that we're all in this game together of life. And we just need to just do what's right for us. And when we do it, we listen to our body and we do what's right for us, we're better humans. We're just automatically better humans. We're not. And yeah, so that's what I try to provide when I do my practice. So it starts off, I really stress that. And then we go through sequence after sequence. We start in seated position, we connect with our breath. And I try to really bring in, a sensory awareness of, okay, let's bring our senses outward. What are you smelling? What are you seeing? Or what are you sensing outwardly? Then bring that back in, and doing that in that mind's eye, back and forth, to really bring that awareness. And then we just go through, like I said, our sequences. And I try to do a couple more challenging poses, maybe 1 or 2 or 3, just for those students that want that. And and then we end with of course, the most wonderful part, our Shavasana. Yes, right. And it is the best compliment when everybody's still, that last 5 minutes. I feel like if you can close your eyes, your body is still, I'm like, you're content. Your parasympathetic nervous system is now activated, and you are able to sink into that rest and allow all effort to cease.
I tried to get yoga in once a week. I'm not great about it, but I love the feeling of being in down dog and having my face relax. Just that, like,
yes,
it's this feeling your cheeks like go the other direction, let gravity take just even my facial muscles to the other place. They don't always go, right? So, I think about, there's so many moments throughout a practice where you can feel grounded, or you can feel relaxed, or you can connect with that breath and just be like, have I taken a really full breath all day today? Sometimes we don't. So yeah, it's so important. Now, you were our yoga instructor last year.
Yes.
And we got just a lot of really positive feedback, obviously about the whole event, but specifically about the yoga. We welcome women of all shapes and sizes to this event. We embrace you and love you. And that includes capability to do this yoga practice. So, I don't know if you specifically remember some of those comments, Becky, but how do you accommodate somebody that maybe hasn't practiced before, or maybe isn't comfortable getting into some of those poses? How would you support them through the practice?
Yeah. And the option is to sit in a chair. You can always sit in a chair, or just sit on your mat and just moving your body, trying to, play with it. And that is yoga right there, is being okay with having to play with these poses. And oh my gosh, it takes one person, it may take a minute to get into downward dog, but just notice that. And I say that all the time, just notice. Nobody is judging. And that, I say it way too much probably in my class now that I think about it, but just notice the thoughts that come up, notice how that makes you feel. Don't judge it as good or bad, because there is no good or bad. If we look, there is no such thing. We label things as good and bad, and we judge them. We created that. So then that creates more judgment. It is what it is. And once you can sink into that and know that this is how it is, and I'm okay with this, that is a breakthrough. And sometimes people will get tearful. I know I've gotten tearful in yoga practice and various things, but it's good. It's a good thing to get tearful, because you're releasing what has been held onto forever. And that's judgment, that's questioning, that's I can't, that's excuses, that's whatever, old stories that were programmed into you from childhood or whatever. But the minute you can, it's so not about the poses. It's really not.
No, and I think there's a lot of beauty in just trying it, right? So if you can, to your point, even get into a position like down dog, if you can, first of all, if you're willing to try,
right,
awesome,
right?
You can hold it for 2 seconds. Awesome. Yes. Like, no matter what, it's going to be a celebration of what you came and tried, and what you experience.
Absolutely. And it's it's the journey of keep rolling out your mat, and I'm going to go home and I'm going to try this. And the minute that you notice that, oh my gosh, my body can do this, I'm doing this, there is no better feeling. Right. There is no material thing that can provide that type of feeling of gratitude and of just amazement of
Mhm.
that's the true filling of our cup,
Right.
yeah.
Absolutely. So Tina just had she's working behind the scenes. Tina just had there we go. She's amazing. Tickets are now on sale. If you're sitting there and you're maybe in front of a computer, you can scan that. That will take you to the site to purchase your tickets. I will also drop the link in the comments today so that if you are on your phone right now and you can't use that ticket, you can always click the link. But the Women's Summit is on Saturday, March 9th. It actually turns out to be International Women's Day also. And I don't know if
No, that is
yeah, I
wonderful.
don't think we remember I don't think we knew this when we picked it, but I love that that is the case. Um, the event is going to be held at the Franciscan Center for Education and Performing Arts, which is right here in Manitowoc. Again, I was just there this last weekend for Treehouse Theater, and I was again reminded of how beautiful and amazing that front atrium is. And so we're going to get to enjoy the amazing, huge vaulted windows and the fireplace and just how warm that space feels.
Mhm.
Um, so, Becky, when you look at this, I see in the upper right corner, it says, join us for a day of appreciation, learning, connection, and letting that blank go.
Yes,
What's
yes.
in your blank this year?
Letting that oh, busyness.
Mm.
I have always had this thing where, and it's a family thing. So busy. We and I so we learned it, as young kids, because my sisters do the same thing. You don't have to be busy. We don't have to be busy. We don't
Yep.
have to say, we don't have to talk about our schedule or our lack of sleep, or I
Mhm.
just want to let that expectation go that I sometimes feel, and I'm much, much better than I used to be, but that I need to let people know how busy I am. Do you know what I mean? Like, nobody cares.
Mhm. Right.
So yes. So I'd like to let that go. And just always insecurities, always. I feel like how can we be human females and not have some recording, some insecurity at some time? So I would love to, yes, write that on my paper and toss.
I love that. Becky Richards just said, "Can you follow me around for a week and just remind me you don't have to be busy?" That's a great thought. She said business. Let the business go. Let the busyness go also.
Yes.
You're speaking directly into my heart. I come from a long line of women, first of all, that have incredible work ethics. So I'm not sorry for that. I will
Mhm.
never be sorry
Yes.
for that.
Mhm.
But my grandmother had 7 children. She worked full time, and my grandfather traveled for work. So she had the 7 kids by herself Monday through Friday,
Wow.
right?
Phenomenal woman.
Ironed the school uniforms, baked the bread, did all the things, right? But some of that is the foundation for the unhealthy busyness now, right?
Mhm.
Because we strive to maintain that. And I think to your point, if we go and talk with other women about how busy we are, we get validated in that other women are busy and we must be busy. And
Yes.
really part of being a mom, wife, entrepreneur is that you have to be like busyness means you're being productive. And it doesn't
Right.
always mean
Right.
that you're being productive or healthy.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I get caught up in, the basketball games, we're going here, we're going there, and how much I want to say, I've been up since 3:45. Like I want everybody to know that.
Yes.
And I want everybody to know, but I'm like, no, you don't have to let anybody know that. This
Yep.
is your life and this is what you've created. So if you
Yep.
want it different, like I have to do the self-talk, my positive mindset of
Right.
no, you've created this. And if you want it different, you could have it different. Don't put
Yep.
that on anybody else. Nobody else has to listen to that, you
Yeah.
know?
And I think, Lori really talked about that last week in her segment. We can create a life that doesn't have to be busy all the time, right?
Absolutely. We
Being
have,
working moms and having kids, there are elements of that that are always going to be busy. That's
Mhm.
real. But it doesn't have to be like that 7 days a week. It
Right,
doesn't have to be we don't have to sacrifice maybe a family dinner every night of the week. Like, we can say no.
right.
Just because we can something doesn't mean we should do something, right?
Yes.
And so sometimes sitting back and thinking about, do I really have to do that?
Mhm.
Should I really do that? Right? So
And
important.
also too, I think as women, we're pleasers. We wanna say yes. So then somebody invites us somewhere and we're like, "Oh gosh, I really don't. I just wanna sit home tonight," or I just and instead, then we start talking about our busyness to,
Yeah.
so we don't hurt their feelings or we kinda cushion that a little bit. So,
Yeah.
yes, a lot of
Awesome.
facets, it's a dynamic topic for sure.
Right. Right. Well, and one of the things that I'm excited about for this women's summit is obviously we had a great first year last year. We had, I think,
Mhm.
32 incredible women join us. Um, we're on track, obviously, to far out past that. That's the goal. We
Yes.
want to bring amazing content and amazing facilitators to our guests, the people that are with us for the day. Um, so you're gonna lead yoga before
Yes.
lunch. How
Yes.
long will your yoga practice be this year?
I would like the whole session to be 45 minutes. I would like to be able to really sink into just allowing us to be able to sit for a few minutes, notice how we're feeling, just allow ourselves to sink into that and allowing a nice 25 minutes of going through sequences and then again allowing that shavasana part. So hopefully we can squeeze in, we'll get that full
We can.
45 minutes in.
We can squeeze it in.
That would
If
be wonderful.
somebody is watching and they're like, "I've never done yoga before, I don't have a yoga mat," what advice would you give them?
I have extras. I definitely. And last year, I think several people brought a few extras. So if you don't have a yoga mat, that's fine. We can definitely provide one.
Awesome.
And comfy clothes. That was a big plus last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when
Yes.
you say comfy, let's
Yes.
let's tell our guests a little bit about what works well maybe for yoga.
So I like to wear leggings and then I like to wear a tank top that's a little bit more tight fitting because we're obviously doing our inversions. So the shirt, if it's a loose fitting shirt, it's going to come up a little bit. So an option would be a tank top underneath, and then maybe a loose if that's for comfort levels, whatever works for
Mhm,
anybody. But I mean, it can be sweatpants.
mhm,
It doesn't have to be leggings. I think I have a lot of leggings, so that's what I tend to wear, but it can be anything that moves. Jeans would be the one thing that would not work very well.
mhm,
But if you want the yoga pants, anything stretchy, comfortable, cotton, that's going to be able to move with you when
mhm.
you're moving around on the mat.
Yeah, and I think to your point, in my experience, like, I'm gonna call it slippery, but that's not what I mean. But it's a top that has more of that
The
slippery
wigging,
feel,
yeah,
yes, with
yes.
a bottom that has a slippery feel, your shirt will slide up typically if you're doing
Mhm.
yoga. So I think that's a good point about maybe having different types of fabrics where they can kind of grab against each other just to,
And
if
now that you say that, the moisture wicking shirts, like the polyester,
yes,
if you're going to be sweaty, that's going to be a little more cooling than a cotton shirt would be, of
right.
course.
Yep.
But I mean, the room is not going to be heated. I shouldn't say that. It's not going to be hot yoga. There
Yes.
are, sometimes they do it. So it's just going to be regular temperature. It'll probably be around 70 degrees in the room.
Mhm.
And like I said, we'll be moving, but it's going to be more of a slow flow than any fast pace
Yeah.
movements.
Yeah. And if you are watching again and you're like, I don't know if I can do this part, Um, I just can tell you from experience. First, you can, right? Becky will
Right.
always offer you alternatives and different ways of managing a pose that are going to meet you where you're at. I know when I started my fitness journey after having babies, I was not in good shape. I weighed a lot more than I weigh right now. Yoga was one of the things I started with because it really met me where I was at. I could do what I could do.
Yeah.
And it helped me build strength to be able to take the next step into transition and other classes. So wash all the fears away. I know, Becky, you're such an inviting and comfortable person that I know you're going to make everybody in that room feel seen and embraced and supported throughout the practice. And I
you.
can't wait. I can't wait for you to
Yeah.
do this again in March.
Thank you. Yeah, the whole event I'm very excited about. I think it's going to be great. A lot of really great changes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. Thank you to Becky and Lori and anybody else who's watching. Again, grab your girlfriends, your moms, your aunts, your friends, your partners, register for the event. The ticket price does change at the end of December. The price goes up. So now is a great time to buy your ticket. We hope to see you there.
Great fly.